Only a few people have a zero to hero inspiring life story, and even out of those people, not many of them have their stories out there. But in today's video, we would like to be looking at the life of Joshua Taylor, better known as Desto Dubb, who is one of the most inspiring zero to hero stories you would find out there. If you've heard of the famous clothing brand that's an awful lot of cough syrup, then you probably know Desto Dubb. Desto is an American rapper, entrepreneur, and cough syrup enthusiast that is based in Los Angeles, California. He's originally from Watts in Los Angeles, and he attended Crenshaw High School. Before Desto had his big break in the clothing business, he, like many other entrepreneurs before him, had a lot of other hustles and started at a very young age. Desto grew up in a poor neighborhood where most people were broke, and he knew he didn't want to live that kind of lifestyle, so he began to dig his way out of his neighborhood via hustling. As a young boy, the first job he had was scrapping bottles and cans and dumpsters and selling them to recycling companies. The most he made was about $12 to $18 a day, and for a young boy at the time, that was huge. He went on to cutting grass for his neighbors, to cutting hair for the little kids in his neighborhood, and the little money he made he spent going to movies or hanging out with friends. After a while, he started moving with people he believed could lead him in ways in which could make more money. His hustle really began in high school when he was in the 9th grade. He started gambling and started making money from it, but soon after he got tired of it, and then he used some of the money from his gambling to buy candy. When he sold candy, he learned the rudiments of customer relations and how to be a better salesman. He learned how to buy at a lower price and sell at a higher price, how to target the right audience, and how to find the right places where he could sell his goods. As he grew up, he got into a lot of side hustles, like I said earlier. He sold weed, he did tattoos. Notably, he actually did tattoos for rappers like Nipsey Hussle. He also cut hair. He was a rapper as well himself. And he sold t-shirts. As a matter of fact, Dubb had been selling shirts since the 9th grade and even learned how to sew himself. His clothing line would later become his biggest success. When he became a tattoo artist, he gave tattoos to people like YG, Nipsey Hussle, and Lil Pump. Then he started selling lean, or otherwise known as promethazine codeine. And this brought him to contact with people at high levels, specifically in the hip-hop industry. At first, he was just selling lean, but after a while, he noticed that the more he drank it, the more people bought from him. However, he experienced a dark time in his life when he was arrested for robbery and spent 3 months in jail for violating his probation. He's also talked about, how he stopped doing lean himself, because let's be honest, guys, lean is pretty much liquid heroin. But after his release, from this 3 months in jail, he had to start from scratch again. This is when he first met his friend and music producer, Fizzle. After being in the music scene for a while, Dubb was motivated to start rapping, plus he was also looking for a creative outlet. The two made music together, and in 2016, Dubb released his first project called Born to Sell Juice. And the album, the title track produced by Fizzle, became the biggest hit. The project was successful in that it was retweeted by Draco the Ruler. R.I.P. to Draco the Ruler, by the way. And the song was also featured in XXL magazine. It was through his networking within the Los Angeles scene, as well as the SoundCloud rap scene, that he then linked up with Adam22 of No Jumper. From there, he went on the first No Jumper tour with Lil Pump and Smoke Perp. In the past, those are two different rappers, people that aren't aware. In the past, Dubb was the go-to guy for his crew, especially when it comes to weed, women, juice, really anything that, these rappers needed. He was the guy to hook it up. And so, even though he wasn't making the big bucks, he knew how to utilize his skills and make himself useful and get him, relationships with high-up people. He was part of a group called Overdose, made up of some of his friends from high school as well, on a side note. So Dubb went viral after a video of him being pulled over by the police was uploaded. In the video, he was driving a car with a lot of cough syrup in the backseat, and the police said, quote, "That's an awful lot of cough syrup."
That's an awful lot of cough syrup. You must be really sick. an awful lot of cough syrup. You must be really sick. That's an awful lot of cough syrup. You must be really sick.
It was from this where he got the grand idea to put it on a shirt. He started selling them to his friends, especially when he was on tour. But it all really started when his friend Little Pump left Los Angeles, and Desto realized that even though he had enjoyed the benefits from his friend, he had to start on his own. Even though he could use Little Pump's, Phantoms, different amazing cars, get all the perks, that wasn't what he owned. That wasn't his business. So he realized that he needed to start making his own money. So at the time, he had about 80,000 followers, and he knew that he had a product that people wanted, that being the cough syrup clothing line. And he started off with the plan of a goal to just sell 2 or 3 hoodies a day, which would earn him about $200 to $300 a day. One thing I want to highlight here, something I always tell myself, is big things start small. So Dubb started posting different advertisements on his social media, asking people to buy his shirts, and then he would go on to check his requests, see who wanted a shirt, and then he would go there and hand deliver the clothing to that person. At this point, he had hired one of his best buddies to be his driver because he didn't have his license. He continued the door-to-door delivery routine for about 2 months. And in that period, he made enough money that he was able to move out of his downtown apartment to Westchester. The door-to-door routine was quite successful, that he had so many people to deliver to and not enough time. He was riding in a 92 Nissan Sentra, but after a while, the car wasn't big enough to take all of his deliveries. So 3 months before the COVID-19 pandemic, Desto invested in a van. They had more merchandise and more deliveries to make, but because of the sketchy nature of vans at the time, he was getting pulled over by the cops at least 2 or 3 times every day. At the time, he talks about this in the interview, there was some abductions that were happening from vans that looked just like his, and anyway. But let's keep going. So then COVID struck, but people still wanted to buy his merchandise. So instead of moving around, he just brought his business to a parking lot. And he began advertising his new location at the parking lot on his Instagram account. Right? He had people like Young Thug, all these different really famous rappers pulling up to buy some cough syrup at this parking lot in downtown. And even though he had a new location, he continued to DM people to come buy his shirts. At this point, his business was really starting to boom. There were even times when his manufacturer had closed, so he would just get the blank shirts and print his famous cough syrup slogan on them. So day by day, he would sell the clothes, and at night, he would be screen printing on them by himself. He ventured into making customized shirts for people who requested them. He was selling to his high-end friends, or his top, rapper friends, such as Lil Pump, Young Thug, Lil Duke, and business was absolutely booming. He began filming his high-end clients buying his shirts and promoting them on his Instagram page. From then on, many more people wanted to come to buy his shirts. Desto went from making $300 a day to making up to $10,000 every day, and this was in a parking lot. Of course, as the business grew, he had to hire people to start selling for him. Unfortunately, he experienced some setbacks where people were breaking into the van, and the people in charge of parking lots also told him that he could not even park without, paying, especially once COVID started to kind of wrapping up. He bought up to 7 different parking spots, but they didn't allow him to set up shop there. He then decided to buy another van, and he used one to store the goods and the other to display the goods. His high-end friends, or his top rapper friends, helped him post about the business. Interestingly, since he had changed location, he didn't post about the new location, but people always sought him out. At this point, there was a really, really big demand for cough syrup. It really had hit that brand equity and that, uniqueness, right? He's also limited supply, and he only makes, he rarely resells or remakes different designs, right? So he keeps that supply limited, and the resale value has become pretty insane. So, he ended up moving into stores, onto a couple different stores on Melrose. and he had several break-ins, and he got harassed by the police on many occasions, and even some people harassing the clients. So, he still got the store, but when he got the first store on Melrose, he got the store and paid 6 months for it up front. But he had some issues that made him leave the store after 2 months. But in that period, this is really the key here, he made over $1 million. A few months later, he got another store downtown, right next to the same parking lot where he used to sell out of his vans. And barely a week later, he got an offer for another store on Melrose, and he took it too. So now he has multiple stores going, and he's really booming. So Desto's business has kept growing so much that between 10 months, he had moved from selling at a parking lot to owning up to 3 commercial stores. Obviously, at this point, he had slowed down on the music front since it was kind of more so of a hobby, right? And he focused all of his energy on the clothing line. However, he hasn't completely left the music industry, as he still drops some, songs from time to time. So in a bid to expand his business and make more money, Desto started doing collaborations. This meant he would exchange his customers for other people's customers, right? They would collaborate on certain, clothing, right? And typically it would be like, oh, that's an awful lot of runts or awful lot of this, right? So it's an awful lot of, and then that's an awful lot of no jumper, right? Those are kind of the examples I'm bringing up. And so he went from doing collaborations every month to doing it every 2 weeks. So far, he has done collaborations with some of his celebrity friends, such as Young Thug, No Jumper, West Coast Customs, Runts, and I've actually heard him talk about doing some collaborations potentially with Cookies and I think Alien Labs, right? That's the connected affiliated cannabis company. But Desto credited the high price of his clothes to the fact that they were hard to come by, right? He limited the supply, which is a key component here. As part of his business strategy, Desto's collaborations with other people are not excessive. In fact, they are limited runs to only about 100 pieces each. So like I said, very limited supply. This added to the exclusivity of the clothing line. The strategy worked, and it brought more people directly to his store to buy it. People then began buying it to resell, right? That reseller market, that's really, really important. And it boasted a resale value of anywhere from $300 to $350 a shirt, which is crazy. Interestingly, even with the growth of the expansion of the business, Desto is still directly involved in the whole process of production. Desto's life is an excellent example that you can start from nothing to having something and making a name for yourself by just putting your own twist on it, by working hard and never giving up. As a successful entrepreneur, Desto still has plans to expand and open other businesses, including own his own tattoo shop. And in an interesting reveal, going back to what I was just mentioning, Desto's name is an acronym that stands for Don't Ever Stop Trying. And this is what his life has been about. From hustle to hustle, he never stopped trying until he got his big break. Big shouts out to Desto Dubb, an awful lot of cough syrup. And if you guys like this channel, if you guys like this video, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, please share this video. And yeah, this is Luke, otherwise known as LMC. Really appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one.